healthy worry versus toxic worry. How to tell the difference and what to do once you have figured out the difference. So, what is toxic worry? One of my clients always says, "You love that word, toxic," and I do. I think it's like so appropriate. It just really encapsulates or captures what worry can be to our mind and body: toxic, poisonous. Um, so let me explain a little bit about the difference between the two, healthy worry and toxic worry. Let's start with the toxic. So, toxic worry is when worry is eating away your life, eating away your day, your energy levels, your focus, causing you to miss out on life. There's a phrase actually that says, rust is the worry of life, or worry is the rust of life. And I just think that is so appropriate because it really does eat away and corrode. So, toxic worry is unhelpful. It can be obsessive. It's usually about things that we cannot control, that we don't have control over. Or it could be worry around something that we don't even know if it's ever going to happen, something in the future, a what if, I like to call it. So let me break that down a little bit more. So, obsessive worry is toxic worry. Obsessive is when you've taken an action or strategized about something, thought something through, but you can't stop worrying about it. You can't let it go. And therefore, it is eating away at your life and energy and focus and all of that when it becomes obsessive. So, even when you can do something and you've done it, but you're still ruminating about it and obsessing, that is toxic. Things that you cannot control could be people, other people's actions, other people's thoughts, whether other people like you or don't, whether other people do a certain thing you want them to or not. That's not under your control ever. Weather, Mother Nature, traffic, these are things that are not in your control. The economy, aging, we're all going to age and we cannot change that. We can't control that. So those are some good examples of things that you cannot control but may still find yourself worrying about. And then I talked a little bit about the what ifs, falling into that what if pit, worrying about things that may or may not happen in the future. This is a toxic type of worry because there's nothing you can do about it and it may never happen. So it's consuming you, but there's really not a to-do or nothing you can do. So let's talk a little bit about what healthy worry is. In my mind, healthy worry is worry that encourages you to take a particular action or step, something that is within your power, something that you can control or do or take. It's a type of worry that is protective, keeps you safe perhaps, or gets you to do something that would be helpful. I'll give you a couple examples. So, choosing to take the long way to get back to your car after a movie at night, when you could have taken the shortcut through the dark alley, but the alley could be dark and dangerous. So worry caused you to take that long way around and maybe protect yourself. Another example could be choosing to set your alarm, or even two alarms, because you are worried that you might oversleep and miss out on work the next day or a class. Another example, choosing to study longer or get a study buddy to help you because you're worrying you may not have studied enough for an upcoming exam. This is healthy worry. It gets you to take a step to do something that is within your control. Last example, and there's many more, but I'll just give you these few. Choosing to go to the doctor because you're feeling not well, you're not feeling good. And you might have, let's say, strep throat or the flu or something that would be helpful for you to know. So these are some examples of healthy worry. How do we stop toxic worry once we've identified that we are experiencing it? Great question. So here's a couple steps. Number one, you do need to recognize you're worrying and figure out what it is you're worrying about as best you can, identifying that. And then deciding, next step, decide whether it is toxic or healthy. You could ask yourself, is this something that is within my control that I'm worrying about? Is there something I can do, an action I could take to protect myself or to, move to a better outcome, to step out of the way of the negative outcome that I'm worrying about? If the answer is yes, then take that action, plan some steps that will help you accomplish that goal or move in that direction. Now, sometimes you might have to break it down into smaller steps because there might be a lot of steps you need to do or many actions you could take. But, begin by doing that, breaking it down, and at least taking one or strategizing when you're going to take those steps. If the answer is no, there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can be in control of, or no action that I can take, then here is a few things that you can do. Number one, I would say positive self-talk, affirmations, reminding yourself, hey, there's nothing I can do about this, therefore I have to set it aside. There's a good chance that what I'm worrying about will never happen if you're falling into that what if pit. Remember the last time you worried about something that never actually happened. It was a waste. It never occurred. Maybe telling yourself, I'll deal with whatever happens when it happens. Or maybe an affirmation like, I choose to believe that whatever does happen is in my best interest. You could also give yourself 5 minutes out of the day, set a timer, and worry for those 5 minutes only, and then commit to setting aside your worry after that. Maybe you journal it out, write it out, or maybe you just talk to yourself about it. You give yourself those 5 minutes, but then afterwards you shut it down. Another thing you could do is to distract yourself with things when you catch yourself worrying. The moment you catch yourself, if you've decided it's toxic, then choose to do something else. Distract yourself with another activity, calling a friend, checking on email, whatever it is. This is similar to what you might do if you were trying to change a habit. You create a list of distractions to get you through those moments when you are starting to pop into that old habit or exhibit those old behaviors that you're trying to change. And lastly, one of my favorites is creating a toxic worry box, or some people call it an angel box, a God box. I like to call it a worry box, a box for worries. So now this is something you can do in your mind, mentally, or something you could actually do. You could find a beautiful little box, or you could create one, you could build one. You could use a drawer or a briefcase or a shoebox. You could, use whatever of those you want, whatever works best for you. But the idea would be to take a piece of paper and write on it a word or a phrase, something that reminds you of the thing you're worrying about, the toxic worry or the obsessive worry. And you just fold the paper, put it in the box, or a drawer or a briefcase, whatever it is. If it's up in your head, in your mind, you mentally visualize doing this. Maybe you close your eyes, you visualize this really perfect, beautiful box, size, dimension, shape, color, and you see yourself writing on the paper, putting it in the box, and you separate yourself from that stressor, that tension, not the facts about it, not the events or whatever it is that the facts are, just the emotional charge that's related to that. This is a way of disconnecting from that stressor, giving your mind a mental representation, a way to disconnect from that emotional stressor. And then you just keep doing that. Every time you notice a toxic worry, an obsessive worry, you write it down, put it in the box. By the end of the week, you might have all the same names or things written down on those pieces of paper. Doesn't matter. You just keep putting it in there, separating yourself, giving yourself that mental representation, that way of doing so. And then at the end of the week, you can really have fun by taking everything out of the box or the drawer or wherever you're storing it and doing something fun, some little ritual to really get rid of it, to clean the slate, to erase it, dousing it in water until it disintegrates, burning it safely, of course, throw it in the garbage, crumpling it up, putting it through the shredder, something that really gives you some sense of release. And then you just start over the next week with all those new pieces of paper that you're going to put in there. And of course, you can do this mentally too. If your worry box or angel box or God box is in your mind, then you can do it that way. At the end of the week, clear it out, see the empty inside of the box in your mind, and start fresh the next week. Now, so this is just a really helpful thing to do. Some people call it a God box or an angel box because the idea is that you're giving it up to your angels, you're giving it up to God, you're giving it up to the universe to let them or it take over so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. Because sometimes time heals things. Sometimes things we don't expect come into play that alter the circumstances in a way that is beneficial for us that we couldn't have expected before. So this is what or why people sometimes call this process your angel box, your God box, your Mother Nature box, your, higher power box, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it the toxic worry box or anxiety worry box, but completely up to you. So I hope that's helpful. If you were one of my hypnotherapy clients, we would do this in session, but hope that this has been helpful and something that you can take from and maybe do on your own.